the why the buyer's consultation. So a lot of people, and myself included, for years and years did not do a buyer's consultation. I was entirely reactive in my business. If somebody came up to me and wanted to see houses, I'd pretty much just start showing them houses. And you know, a lot of times I didn't work with a lot of buyers in the past. So I didn't really have a process. It was a lot, I think industry wide, it's much more common to have a process when it comes to sellers, but not a process when it comes to buyers. So, you know, why the buyer's consultation? You know, Cindy and I were talking about it the other day when she did hers. It's, you know, new for her. And she, you know, didn't hear of a lot of people doing it, but there's a lot of reasons why you would do it. So number one is to set expectations. Even if this is a buyer from, you know, maybe a past client, sphere of influence, somebody who's bought in the past, even somebody savvy like an investor, I think it's still really important to set expectations on what the market conditions are and really set up your strategy up front. So that'd be the second reason. There's a lot of different ways to structure an offer, and some of it can be kind of a little bit scary. And so if you don't bridge that gap ahead of time, I feel like it can be a lot more off-putting, and the client experience is a lot. I mean, you're devaluing that. So, and then, you know, you want to invest in the relationship up front. So you want to, you know, basically, hey, this is what we do. This is, you know, like, this is the kind of service you should expect. And this is of no obligation to you. And it's something that I like to do up front. I always say that. Also, it establishes you as the professional. Obviously, showing market conditions, our track record, kind of what we do to help clients win is going to set you apart. It does give them an opportunity to really drill down on their wants and needs, and then formalize the relationship. And the last thing is it gets them to commit to you. So at the end of the buyer's consultation, something that I have been doing, and it's been pretty successful, is getting them to sign a buyer's agency agreement. So it's just kind of this, like Chloe and I were talking about the other day, like, how do I commit these people to us? Right? Is, you know, how do I really formalize that and get them to commit? And the way that you do it, and, you know, they wouldn't know otherwise. You know, I know that a lot of people don't use the buyer's agency agreement, but if it's the logical next step, it commits, you know, our time to them and them to us. Then, you know, if they really found value in your buyer's consultation, there's no reason why they wouldn't sign that agreement. So I've been doing that recently. You can decide whether or not you want to do that in your business. I'm not going to say that it's going to be required or anything like that. You guys are all independent contractors. You make your best decisions. But I think it's been something that it gives you, it solidifies your time. So, you know, we have a lot of, we're doing 5 to 6 times the work than we're used to be doing with buyers. So, meaning you're writing 5 to 6 offers before you get one accepted, which is a lot of travel time in between. And we just want them to commit to us because we're committing a lot of time, our resources, and our expertise. So that is why the buyer's consultation. Sorry, you guys, that my throat is super dry today. So we're going to get started. All right. So this is our formal steps to buying success. And I'm going to actually start from the beginning. So, so this is we're the Madrona Group at John Scott Ballard. This is our steps to buying success. A lot of people will ask me why the name Madrona Group. The name actually came from our original owners, Jason and Joe. They are both Northwest natives. So the Madrona tree, Northwest species of tree that grows along the coastline. It has deep roots. So, you know, kind of giving us that deep rooted Seattle vibe here, and hyper local expertise. Very, very adaptable tree as well, and it's just very prolific in the Northwest, which is where every the three of us, actually, Jason, Joe, and myself, were born and raised. So we definitely pride ourselves in that hyper local expertise. Sometimes that's what sets us apart in getting our offers accepted ahead of time. We definitely integrate the latest technology and marketing, and study and practice fierce negotiation techniques. One of the things that we love to do is give back to the communities in which we live, and really foster those relationships. So our little poem here: advice from a tree: stand tall and proud, sink your roots into the earth, be content with your natural beauty, go out on a limb, drink plenty of water, and remember your roots. Of course, don't forget to enjoy the view. So this is me, just some candid photos, a little bit about me. I am a father of two boys. They are currently 15 and 11, soon to be 16 and 12. Crazy times, thinking about a 16-year-old driver in my home. He's getting his license pretty soon here. But I like to travel. I like to climb mountains. I enjoy nature, hanging out with my dog Ziggy, and friends, of course. This is my partner Ashley. We work side by side. When you decide to work with me, not only get me, but you get Ashley and our showing partner, Josiah. So we recently have decided to go that route because we want to make sure that our clients are getting the best experience possible, and that no matter what, 7 days a week, 8 a.m. to 9 p.m., you can get into the homes that you need to. So these two people, very important in my business, but just a little bit about me. So we are, as a group and myself, 5-star rated on all platforms. The reason why I want to tell you that is I want to give you that 5-star service. I want to make sure you're feeling supported all the time. And if you don't feel that you're getting that 5-star service, I want to make sure you tell me in real time so I can correct it. But you can definitely look at some of our reviews and stuff that clients are saying about us and how it is to work with me. So John L. Scott, are you familiar with John L. Scott? That's usually where I would ask this. I don't expect interaction, that's fine. But yes, we are a local company. We're a 3rd generation CEO here, 90 years in the making this year. Our mission statement is living life as a contribution. That's definitely one of the reasons why I chose John L. Scott. I mean, I could basically hang my license anywhere, but the fact that we are hyper local, we've been here for 90 years, and we've got our 3rd generation CEO just voted 21st most influential person in real estate last year. So really cool to have him at the helm. We give in excess of $15 million a year to Children's Hospital. Really, really cool. Near and dear to my heart. Actually had my kids stay there a couple times. So really cool that we give back there. So why would you choose me as your agent? Of course, I want to find you the right home for the right price. The way that we do that is really that local expertise, like I've mentioned, and the negotiation skills. 90% of people that hire real estate agents say the number one reason why they do it is for negotiations. I am going to make sure, when we're in that process, that we stay level-headed, that we're logical, that we're making a decision in your best interest, and that we're really adhering to all the search criteria that we're going to identify here today. So also, of course, I have the expertise of my team. As I mentioned, I have Josiah and Ashley helping me out. So we have more eyes and ears out there on the street and more boots on the ground. So we're able to get you in quicker, and we also have more relationships between the three of us. So relationships can equal a more compelling offer for you, because if they've done business with us in the past, then it makes more sense to go with somebody that can get it to the closing table. So some of the reasons why I think you should choose me as your agent. This is a list of map of sold homes that we have done in our past. So you can see that we're all the way up here in the Bellingham area, down to Tacoma, and all the way over to Plain, Washington, and everywhere in between. Now, Where we do the lion's share of our business is right here where you're going to be looking. I know that you said that you're going to be looking in like Everett and Linwood area. That's actually where I live and work. So lots of experience with the neighborhoods there and the relationships within the real estate community. So today we want to define, 6 different things we're going to kind of go over quickly. So of course, what's important to you, that's number 1 on the list, because we want to define your goals, and we're going to set our expectations here, and we're going to make sure the market can meet those expectations. The home search, we're going to set you up on the Northwest MLS. I'll go over that, kind of show you the property ID and how to work that portal. The key market strategies, so just understanding a little bit about what's going on in the market today. Even if you bought 10 years ago, it is a completely different market. So we always like to define what's going on in the present. The importance of financing your home, just going over that and telling you a little bit about what our Buyer's Advantage program has to offer. If you choose to work with our preferred lender, you do get a really cool referral fee. So I'll go over that as well. And then a little bit about preparing and negotiating the purchase and sale agreement. And then of course, just the transaction itself when we're in there, and the timelines and kind of how that flows. Sorry, my dog Ziggy's right here clicking around. So we want to talk about a little bit about you. So now I want to hear your wants and needs, maybe go over locations, bedrooms and baths. You can use this list as a reference. And then we also have some other things about finding the perfect home, a little bit more specific. So now I will rely on you. So this is where I would go over all that. Basically, when Terry and I were going through it, we want to make sure like we are defining our must-haves and our nice-to-haves. So must-have, like if they have a dog, right? And they need and must have a fully fenced yard. We want to define that because we don't want to send them any properties that don't have that. Now, obviously, at this moment, you get all this list down, and you say, hey, I understand how things can change throughout the process of the transaction and the home buying process as you're searching. So please, again, keep in communication with me on that, because I can tweak this search criteria so you're getting the right listings. So I kind of just go over that. Any questions there, guys? You can just nod your heads no. Okay, perfect. All right, so now that we got you all set up there and we kind of have a little bit more about your wants and needs, we're going to set you up on the Northwest MLS. This way you get instant notifications of new listings coming on the market in real time. So this is the purest and fastest data available. I think we're searching on Zillow. Awesome. Keep searching on Zillow. That is just fine. Just keep in mind, though, that you might want to cross-reference it with your portal at the Northwest MLS, because that is not always the purest data. Sometimes those listings aren't available. They go pending before they update on Zillow. So just always keep that in mind. Now, when you're looking at the listings on Zillow and on the Northwest MLS, you will see this listing ID number. That is the number that I want you to shoot a text to me and Josiah and Ashley. So we're going to put you on a group text, and that way all of our eyes get on it right away. We can start scheduling things up and we can research the property on your behalf. So a little bit about the market right now. It's crazy. It's actually newsworthy. It's been a seller's market for a little bit of time now. Never has it been crazy like this in, I think, 42 years of recorded history. Right now, 93% of listings will go pending within the first 30 days. So that's obviously way off, way over here on the scale, right? So extreme frenzy. Another indicator of a strong seller's market is inventory. So you will see that 3 to 4 months or less of inventory is a strong seller's market? Well, right now we have a half a month, so basically 2 weeks worth of inventory. So, if no new homes came on the market for the next 2 weeks, we would be completely sold out. So that's where the competition is coming from. It's basically a supply and demand thing. So we really have to set ourselves apart and be the most compelling. And, real estate, searching for real estate in a home can be really exciting. It can be really fun, or it can be really stressful. The difference is in the preparation. So the first thing we want to do is we want to partner you up with a lender. So depending on what they say here, like, oh, I've got an opinion from Chase or whatever the case may be, that's kind of going to be my sell. If they haven't, I'm just going to go right into the fact that we partner with Priority Lending. They're an amazing local lender. They have a great panel of appraisers, expertise in the market, and they can get you to this underwriting approval, which is basically the strongest loan approval. This is where the underwriters have looked at your overall position financially. They've matched it up to the guidelines based on the government guidelines of lending, and they have basically given you the final approval that you are good to purchase at that price. So that's kind of where you want to get to. It's the safest lending too. That means they've vetted your whole entire file and everything is approved. So that is also, next to cash, the most compelling thing for a seller to accept as well. So when we're looking side by side, other offers, you could definitely just get a stated pre-qualification letter, but it's not going to look as strong financially as the underwriting approval. So oftentimes that can be the deciding factor when they're looking at our offer or another one. So you definitely want to do that. And I did mention about the Buyer's Advantage program. So if you decide to use Priority, you do get a half a point towards your closing costs. So that's a half a point on the purchase price. So for instance, if you buy a $500,000 house, that's $2,500, and that goes towards your closing costs. Or you could even buy down your interest rate too, so you get a better rate for that longer 30-year period. So we can definitely go over that as well. So once we get you set up, you're pre-underwritten, you're working with Priority, myself, my team's got you out there. Josiah's showing you places, Ashley's showing you places, I'm showing you places, whatever it takes to get you in on your schedule, because this market moves very fast. Sooner or later, you're going to look at me and you're going to say, Chris, I want this home. Now, what are we going to do to get this home? We have to craft and prepare and negotiate the best offer, the most compelling offer. And what that's about for the seller right now is risk mitigation. So three major hurdles in any real estate transaction are going to be inspection, appraisal, and financing. So if we can get over one or more of those hurdles prior to even offering to the seller, we look that much better that the seller, is compelled to accept our offer. So some of the ways we do that, I would never advise you to waive an inspection. I really always want you to have all the facts about the home, that you feel comfortable moving forward. But there's a couple ways that we can mitigate that risk for you and also look compelling for the seller. Number one is we can do what's called a pre-inspection. So we can go and inspect the property prior to offering on it. Yes, it is a little bit of cost to you. The average inspections between $500 and $600, depending on the square footage. But, to be armed with the facts that you, really, really want this home, that you feel in your heart and then in your gut that it is the right decision to make, it's often worth the time. I think it's always worth the time and the money. So we can do that. A lot of times right now in this market, because sellers are aware that there's really, these homes are going in 5 to 7 days, they don't want to take up that pre-inspection appointment time. They want to offer the inspection. So they will inspect the property by an inspector that they hire. So there is a risk there because, the inspector is hired by the seller and working for the seller. But we can vet that offer. We can look at it. We can even ask questions to the inspector. Oftentimes, if I have any kind of weird things that I want to ask about, I'll just call the inspector, and everybody usually works together in this market to get these homes sold. So that is another way. Appraisal. When it comes to appraisal, you will see and probably heard on the news that there's a lot of over offering of list price. Oftentimes it can get up to $50,000 and $100,000 over the list price. Well, we can run into an appraisal problem if we don't have sold properties that are similar to that price. Like if that home and that offer is setting the market and there's no kind of data to basically establish that value, there might be a low appraisal. So what we can do is offer to pay X amount of dollars above a low appraised amount, a number that we're comfortable with, but that also makes it, compelling for the seller, kind of protects their, offer price. And we would do that on what's called an additional down payment addendum. So it really just identifies exactly how much we're willing to go over if that happens. And really the negotiations are dead at that point. It's either you want to accept this additional down payment or we're out, and we can, basically leave at no fault of our own on that offer. And then we have financing. So I mentioned about the underwriting approval. That's basically the best thing next to cash. You are basically fully approved. So there would really at that point be no worries about waiving your financing contingency. Now, there is a risk if you lose your job or you maybe purchase a car or something like that that would otherwise disqualify you from getting financing, then yes, there is a little bit of risk there. But otherwise, you should be golden if you've got that underwriter approval. Excuse me. So a couple other things that we've seen that have been effective is using escalation clause. We can go over that case by case, but basically that's a clause that says we will go X amount of dollars above any written offer that beats us up to a set price. So that way, I have a lot of people that, wow, if I would have lost the house over $5,000 or $10,000, I'd be pretty bummed out. Well, this is a way to protect us. We have a walkaway number and we have an increment that we will escalate up every time a written offer beats us. So that's a nice way to kind of mitigate that risk for yourself, not overpay, but also don't lose out on the house. And then the scariest of all, and I say that not lightly because this is a big deal, but I've seen a lot of people out there doing non-refundable earnest money. Earnest money is a good faith deposit. It does go towards your closing costs or your down payment. But if you make it non-refundable, it basically means that you have to perform. You have to close that deal. If anything happens in the meantime, you are at total risk of losing all of that because that money will hit the seller's bank account within 2 days of mutually agreeing on the contract. So it's gotten aggressive out there. A lot of buyers are willing to do that because they just want to buy the home and they're fully committed. So we'll kind of case by case look at that as we're looking at these homes, see how much competition we're up against. And the other thing I like to do is really look at the data in the neighborhood. I don't want to just pull a number out of the thin air. I want to look at really what's going on, make sure you're getting a really good deal, and it's going to be a wise investment for you. So last but not least, we talk a little bit about the transaction, kind of monitoring the home purchase process. So today, of course, we're talking about the market strategies. We're going to set you up on that home search. When we go out and find the home, we're going to negotiate the price and terms and move on to being in mutual acceptance. That basically starts the clock. So within 2 days of mutual acceptance, and that's 2 business days, you have to deposit that earnest money, that good faith deposit. That is done with the closer, and they can do it either on wire or check, or you can go into the office, whatever you're more comfortable with. At 5 days in, we're going to have to fill out a official loan application. That is where you basically get to lock your interest rate in, and you have that physical address where you can actually fill out the official loan application. Then we start to work through the contingencies. Now, of course, if we've waived some of these contingencies, it's a quicker close. That's another compelling reason why, the seller would accept our offer. They want their money quicker. If we can close quicker, better for us. Sometimes that isn't the deciding factor. Sometimes they need more time, but that's why I really like to start the relationship with the real estate agent on the other side right away. Make sure I understand the seller's wants and needs, because that can set us apart. just by paying attention and asking better questions. So we're going to move through those contingencies. The home inspection, obviously, we want you to be comfortable with that. If we get an inspection, we are going to be able to look at everything about the home. We can then ask for repairs or modifications or even money off, depending on, what comes up. If we're comfortable, though, and we're moving forward, the appraisal is ordered. That is typically right now, we're seeing appraisal term times around 14 days, which is pretty typical, about 2 weeks to get that appraisal back. So that's basically the bank's inspector. They're going to come in, make sure that that's a good risk for them to loan on. They never want you to overpay for the property. So they're going to compare it to sold comparables in the neighborhood and really make sure that's a good fit for them to lend on. Loan approval is happening kind of parallel, kind of at the same time as title reviews the file, and escrow schedules everything up. But that's basically where, all the T's are crossed, the I's are dotted, and, your final situation is looked at by the underwriter and you get that final approval and clear to close. The title, they basically review the file. They make sure, there's no clouds, liens, encroachments, anything that would otherwise make it so it couldn't convey to your name. And then escrow is really just making sure all parties are on the same page. They're scheduling the signings and they're moving that towards the closing. Now in Washington State, you do not own the home once you sign it. You actually only own the home when you record that entire file with the county on the day of closing. So you're typically going to sign maybe 3-4 days, whenever those loan documents hit the escrow, they're going to schedule that signing with you. We also have the right to walk through the property 5 days prior to closing. And I highly recommend that. Some people skip this step, and I never recommend that because it's really hard for the seller to compel them to do anything once money has already changed hands. So we want to make sure we just walk through that the condition of the home is as we remembered it when we offered on it. And then, of course, on the day of closing, the county records that whole file and we get those recording numbers, and it's a big congratulations. And we meet you out at the property and we'll hand you keys. That's my favorite part. Last but not least, everyone's number one complaint when it comes to a real estate agent is lack of communication. So my promise to you is to stay in full communication throughout the entire process as we're searching for the home, as we're in the transaction, and beyond. Just because we close on a transaction doesn't mean the relationship is over, for me at least. I like to stay in touch and make sure you consider me a resource moving forward. And of course, I'm never too busy for any of your referrals as well. So if you've had a good experience with me and you want to have, recommend me to your family or friends, I love that. That's my favorite part. Also, I have a transaction coordinator. So when we're in the transaction, her name is Maida. She will make sure that we adhere to all the timelines, and she's staying in weekly communications throughout the entire transaction. So that's us, and my promise to commit and dedicate my time, my expertise, and a bit of my team as well. So my question for you is, with all that being said, and I think that I can help you out, did you want me to represent you as your real estate agent on your next purchase? And I will
please, I'd love that.
And I will literally go to just look them right in the eye and ask them, and you need to ask them. I think, it's not assumed just because we went through this whole process, right? And if they say, yes, I would love to work with you, then that's where I just say, fantastic. The next step, I'm going to send you an agency law pamphlet, a little bit about your rights to a real estate agent in Washington, and a buyer's agency agreement. So I'll get that signed and initialed. And so we recognize it, and we'll move forward, and we're going to start looking for a home for you.
That's great.
Everybody.
You sound pretty great, huh?
That wasn't too long, right? It was only about 30 minutes.
Yep.
It can vary wildly. I feel like I've had these go on for an hour and a half, and that's basically, that they're really interested in making sure they drill down on their wants and needs, because that's usually when they're talking more. But 30 minutes it's pretty standard.
Yep.
let me ask, do you guys all know that this is same presentations available to you to customize to you? Have you taken the time to do that? You have, awesome.
Yeah.
Chris didn't always
customize
sound
your-
that smooth.
I talk about Joe and Jason on my slides. There's a little bit about Joe and Jason.
Yeah, whatever you're like, Chris totally customized that to himself. It's got the same footprint, but it was definitely catered towards him. His picture was throughout there, you know,
Yeah.
and he's gotten comfortable presenting it. And I will tell you, as a person that's worked side by side with Chris for many years, he hasn't always been that fluid. He's worked at this. I would buy a house from him. I would have him represent me. He would convince me that was really good. You know?
Yeah, and I mean, I think that like as buyer's agents out there, like we get beat up pretty bad, you guys. Like, I mean, we do get cheat on, and like, let's just call it, right? Like, it happens, but this is gonna convert your clients at a higher level and make them commit to you. So I really feel like this process, it really negates a lot of that nervousness. If you do feel like, hey, are they really committed to me? This will commit them to you. I promise. They're spending the time on this, and then they're really drilling down with you. And then it's like, hey, we are going to do this together.